So we did an overview of the menu options, and then we dug a little bit deeper into the cycle types. Now we want to dig deeper into cycle parameters. This can be a little intimidating because there's a lot on here, but this is where you really can determine how you want your pallet wrapped precisely and exactly how you want it to go. So let's dig into that and take a look. So to get to the main menu, hit the jog down button. Then we're going to go down to cycle parameters, and then we're going to hit OK. First one here is bottom wraps. That's the number of times the pallet is going to be wrapped on the bottom. So you can set that value here. It's at 1 right now. Top wraps, same thing, but on the top. Then you have film breaking. So that's the tension. So right now you see it's set at 40%. That's going to be the tension that is going to wrap the pallet throughout the whole cycle. Now, very important here, after this we have variable tension settings. If this is at 40, it's not going to take any of the next settings. So if you actually want these next settings to be live and active, this film breaking has to be at 0. If there's any value there, it's going to read that first. So if we go to bottom wrap tension, it's at 50, but that's not going to read it right now. Then we have ascent tension, top wrap tension, and descent tension. Then from there we have rotation speed. That's going to be how fast the turntable is going to spin. Then we have ascent speed. This is where you set the speed for the carriage going up. If you have the tall pallet, you probably want to have this go slower so that you get more coverage in the middle of the pallet. Descent speed, same thing. You want to have it slower if you have a tall pallet, but if it's a short pallet, you would probably want to speed it up. Delay braking time, that's really not something that you're going to have to worry about. Flanging time, this is also known as the photo eye delay. This value is in seconds. So right now it's at 3 seconds. It's telling you how many seconds the carriage will continue to rise after the photo eye detects the height of the pallet. So the larger the number here, the bigger or more overwrap that you're going to have. Then we have pallet height. So if you turn the photo eye off, you can set this to just read a certain pallet height in centimeters. But if the photo eye is on, it's not going to read this at all. So right here on the next one, enable photo cell, it shows on. That means the photo eye is on. If you wanted to use the previous one, you have to turn the photo eye off here. Then we have wrap pallets. That's the number of wrap pallets that there's been done in this specific saved pallet. Then we have coil change height. So earlier we showed you that you can hit the coil change procedure. You can change the height here if you want to go lower or higher. Then we have initial carriage height. This is going to be if you want to start at a different height than at the lowest point. So you can set that here, and it's going to be in centimeters. Then we have final turn number. So if you want to add more to your bottom wraps, you can add an additional turn here. Reinforcement height. If you want to have some reinforcement wraps on a pallet, then you would enter that here in the height that you would want it at. And then here, reinforcement turns, you would actually, basically say how many turns you want it to do. So it's like top and bottom wraps, but for a different part of the pallet. Then we have final tension revolutions. So if you set a value for the final turn number, which I mentioned before, you could set a different tension here. Then we have manual table speed. So when you're in manual mode, this is where you would change how fast the turntable would go. Remember, this is within the pallet configuration you're at. So if we're in pallet 1 right now, if we're in pallet 2, this would be a different value. Same thing, manual carriage speed. You can change that here. And then manual tension, that's where you change the tension here. Then from there, you have recipe name. That is where you can actually call this what you want. Instead of just saying pallet 1, you could call it whatever name you want for that pallet. Then you have end cycle height. If you want to end your cycle at a certain height and not go all the way down to the bottom of the pallet, you can enter the height you want the carriage to stop at here. If you do this, you would have to enable this in the general parameter called carriage final cut position, which is G20. So that's an overview of the general parameters. One thing I wanted to note is that if you had different options added onto this machine, you'll see some more options within those general parameters. So for example, if you had auto cutoff added, you'd see 3 other settings in here that you could change that relate to that auto cutoff. In some other videos, we're going to show you how you can actually go in and make changes so you can have it set to wrap the pallet how you want it specifically to be wrapped.